think he really came back and really appreciated the band even more than before, and it was really easy record to make. We got along so well, and he's kind of one of those guys who can come in and probably almost play anything that you can play, but like twice as good. So it's, but he doesn't come and sort of show off in that way. You just know that he's that good. So when he encourages you and you find something that he likes, then you're amped. You're like, that you found something that that he's proud of.
From his hometown of Atlanta, Georgia, world-renowned record producer, mixer, engineer, and musician Brendan O'Brien has become one of the most talented, successful, and influential rock producers to date. He has worked with some of the most influential and important artists of the past 20 years, including Red Hot Chili Peppers, Pearl Jam, Incubus, Bob Dylan, Neil Young, Rage Against the Machine, and Bruce Springsteen, just to name a few. As a producer, Brendan believes that it is your job to make sure the end result of whatever you're working on has the best attitude, the best songs, and the best sounds. He loves his job and he loves to work. Brendan feels that if you don't enjoy what you are doing, then your work quality and efficiency will suffer as well. When asked about his views on what a producer does, this is what he had to say.
Honestly, for me, it's fairly simple. It's your responsibility as a producer to make sure that whatever the end result is the best songs you can have, are the best performances, the best sounds. If it's a solo artist you're working with, the best players. You're sort of responsible in one way or another for just the end result of the album, at least creatively and sonically. Some producers, their value is being at the studio and being in the mix and being part of it and interacting with musicians. Some producers don't do that at all. Some producers, their value is hiring the right people who know how to do that. All kinds of different people do it all kinds of different ways. But a lot of people think, who don't know what I do and they meet me, they think, oh, you must be the money man. You got to put some money up, because that's what producers do in films.
We just met one of those guys yesterday playing golf, didn't we?
That's right. But I certainly do not put the money up for making records. And I always like to think that people understand this. A producer to making music is much like a director is to making films. We're making films.
Chilly when sharp as a razor blade. House on fire.
Brendan is quoted saying, "The way I've always kind of recorded records and made records is that we shut up and let the songs dictate how it's going to sound." He stresses that when producing an album, always keep in mind that you are not recording a live set and you can't approach it with that mentality. That they are not the same thing, and it's a mistake made far too often. You can't expect to take what you play live and then play that exact same thing in the studio and have it come out sounding amazing. Things need to be exaggerated, implemented, and changed around using recording and producing techniques. When asked about his views about analog tape versus hard drive recorders, he had this to say.
I used tape all the way up until probably 3 or 4 years ago because I liked the way it sounded. Certain things, particularly drums and bass, went to tape that way. Went to tape in a way that it was pleasing to the ear for me. Then what happened was tape became so scarce that using a tape machine and tape used to be the rock solid way to make records. It never failed. The tape machines always rolled. The tape always worked great. What happened over the years, as tape became more and more scarce and machines became more and more scarce, those machines started breaking. The tape became less reliable. So then I don't want it anymore because it's not very reliable. Yeah. Plus, the technology is such that they've figured out pretty much how to make the digital hard drive sound a lot like tape. It's pretty hard to screw it up now. So as soon as that became the norm, as soon as that became the way, the sort of the standard of the practice of business, so to speak, I went to using hard drive completely.
When talking about pre-production, Brendan finds the priority should be more focused towards choosing the right songs than practicing the songs. If the band plays together really well, then they often come together well in the studio. He doesn't believe in practicing for months on end to record an album that would take 4 weeks to record. When asked about the process on dealing with an artist or band after he has been hired, Brendan had this to say.
Every artist, every situation is different. There's no one way that it goes on. It could be anything from I like this artist, I like this band, I like these people, whatever, but they have no songs for this record yet. Okay, well, come back when you've written songs and we'll go from there. We're going to agree to make a record, but we're not going to do it right now until you're ready. It could be as far away as that to I meet with someone, they have demos, they have a dozen songs demoed, and 7 of them are really great. 7's a pretty good number for me. If you've got 3 songs that are great, that's not enough yet. We've got to keep working. If someone's got 7 or 8 songs that are in pretty great shape, then I know they can go back and write probably 4 or 5 more and get to that place. Everybody's different. I used to do a lot more what we would call pre-production, where you go in and rehearse with the band. I used to do that a lot more than I do now. I think I found over the years that I don't find that as necessary if it's a band that plays together regularly. I find that once the songs are kind of it's more about getting the right songs, more so than practicing those songs.
Yeah.
And I found that if you have a group of guys or women that play together very well, they're going to come together in the studio pretty well. I don't believe in this practicing for 3 months for a record. We're going to spend 4 weeks in making. It's just never really worked out for me.
It was very much the Brendan that I've come to know and love in the studio, which is like a funny, fast-paced kind of a hyperactive, almost like childlike fascination with music, but with virtuoso capabilities on gear and instruments and stuff. So that's just fun when you're around somebody like that. But I got used to him playing a very sort of producer, quote-unquote, role with Incubus, in that he was sort of managing 5 dudes whose ideas are all kind of spilling out at any given time in one room, and everybody kind of, that weird kind of politicking that goes on when you're writing music as a band. It's probably a lot more challenging, but he's really good at it. He really knows what he's doing. He's done it for a long time for a lot of bands that actually made Incubus want to be a band, whether it was Pearl Jam, Rage Against the Machine, or Stone Temple Pilots, any number of bands that he's successfully helped, navigate onto the tarmac, or off for that matter. Get it back when I was young, coming for.
Brendan makes it a point to have a deep connection with the artists that he is working with, often playing instruments or doing vocals at the artist's request during the recording session. Brendan is quoted as saying, "I think that is one of the best signs of a healthy producer/band relationship, when the band or artist actually wants the producer to play with them on a record." Brendan has not only produced some of the most influential albums of the past 20 years, he has also been listed as an instrumentalist on mostly all of them. In terms of coming up with material as a producer, Brendan says not to fall in love with anything you come up with. You may go through hundreds of ideas, and if the band or artist doesn't like it, then you can't exactly run with it. When discussing writing material for bands as well as Brandon Boyd's solo album, Brendan had this to say.
I kind of follow my own advice. As a producer, I'm always telling the guys who write music for a singer in a band, which is a unique situation for guys who write, for the guitar player, the drummer, the bass player, whatever. Don't fall in love with anything, because if the singer doesn't connect with it, it's out. So I probably came up, there was a few songs where Brandon had melodies and I would write the music around it, and then there were other songs that I came up with just sort of fleshed out demos of songs. But of those probably 10 or songs or whatever that we ended up doing that way, or 8 or 9 or whatever, I probably did 25 or 30, and if Brandon didn't connect with it, let it go. Sometimes that was a little hard for me. I might have shoved a few back at him a few times.
In conclusion, Brendan O'Brien has influenced a generation of producers, engineers, and musicians into believing that if you are very hardworking and very talented, that you can achieve whatever you set your mind to. Watch out for Brendan's newest producing credit, Lightning Bolt by Pearl Jam, which comes out today, October 15th, 2013.